Part 45, Cold War with my lover, but he is so heartless. Because it is a symphony party organized by the government, as a general rule, a few days before the event. Invitations are also sent to celebrities from various provinces in Beijing, which is regarded as a meaning of having fun with everyone. The person in charge heard that there was Commander Xuan, who was very influential in Guangdong. He was currently relaxing in the city, so he sent an invitation card as usual. I don't know how many times a year there such big and small fun parties are. Besides, Commander Xuan also knows that he is not a gentleman. When he goes to those occasions, he sees coy and rich ladies who look beautiful. Hua Jiao, if you really want to get one or two to bed, one or two will not succeed. But if you succeed, there will always be a lot of troubles behind. Instead of taking the time to participate in this, it is better to call the sliver seriously and drink a table of flower wine. Therefore, the adjutant handed over the invitation card. And Commander Xuan put his hand out and said, "There is no fun at the shit party." Last time the commander went to Guangxi on a business trip, the Guangxi government also did such a thing. Those women touched it. I can't touch it, and I can't sleep. I know that I'm pulling the hen's neck and singing foreign songs, and I'm going to make a bird. His adjutant, surnamed Zhang, was a thoughtful person, and he felt that this was inappropriate, so he persuaded him and said, "Commander, this is an invitation from the capital government anyway. Those rich ladies in the concert party, although they are all women, they all blow pillow winds. Aren't we here to do something big in the city? If we haven't done it yet, it's not good for us to have a little grudge with the capital government. If you really don't want to go, can we save face and find someone to go instead?" Commander Xuan said, "That's fine. You can't go away, you can't go. Just find someone who is idle." Adjutant Zhang said, "In this case, you must also find someone with a position. Besides, I heard that this concert is in Western style. We also need to know a little bit about the etiquette of foreigners. Otherwise, if we find a small soldier and make a fool of ourselves, our face will not look good." Commander Xuan has recently learned bridge, and he is very fond of this kind of foreign stuff. It's fresh, and it can be gambled, and the addiction is even greater. He was busy reading the cards, and was nagged by the adjutant. He was not happy, so he turned his head and glared at the adjutant Zhang. "Your mother, everything is good, it's just babbling. It's not about yourself. Are you going to do it? Are you deaf, or do you want to fight against this commander?" Adjutant Zhang saw that he couldn't ask anymore, so he quickly saluted and retired. "When I came out with the invitation card, I thought about it. There are a few people with positions, but they are all busy, and even if they are free, none of the company commanders who came out as soldiers can attend such Western occasions." He was worried about the availability of candidates, and happened to be opposite Xuan Huaifeng, who came over with sleepy eyes, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Adjutant Zhang knew the details of this Xuan Huaifeng. He was nominally the adjutant of Commander Xuan. In fact, the adjutant's work was all on the bed. Enough of absurdity. Such a person should be sent an errand because he has an official position and is full and idle. What's more, he is also the young master of everyone, and he knows a little bit about foreigners. Adjutant Zhang made up his mind and greeted him with a smile. "Adjutant Xuan, are you free? I'll hold you for a while and have a few words with you." How to deal with others, especially Adjutant Zhang, because he is following the commander, his eyes are higher than others, and he rarely deals with him. I don't know why he suddenly greeted him today, and said strangely, "Adjutant Zhang, are you looking for me for something?" Adjutant Zhang walked with him to a corner of the yard and said, "Brother, I have a small matter. I would like to ask Adjutant Xuan for a favor." The adjutant said, "Don't say that we are all colleagues, and there is always time to help each other. Please, please? So, he talked about the fact that the symposium had sent invitations. He smiled again and said, brothers have been thinking about it for a long time. In the end, only Adjutant Xuan is the most suitable. Everything else is easy to say. There is no one else here except Adjutant Xuan who is proficient in Western banquets. When I came over, I couldn't help but raise the corners of my mouth, pretending not to care, and said, it turned out to be a Western thing. In the past, my father was in Japan. And there were many friends, and there were often invitations like this. I can't say that I am proficient, but I have been there, and it is not too bad. I lost the scene. Adjutant Zhang said. That's right. Xuan Huaifeng usually only needs to deal with Xuan Luzhao, and he is idle at other times. I don't know when and where. Adjutant Zhang handed him the invitation. It's all written here. Xuan Huaifeng opened it and took it out to see. Although this invitation was sent a few days in advance, it took a day to send it over. Because it was not important. It stayed at the concierge for another day. Later, it arrived in the hands of Adjutant Zhang. Adjutant Zhang kept a pile of documents full for processing. It took some more time. Looking at the date above now, tomorrow is the time for the official event. Xuan Huaifeng sipped at the paper used for the invitation. It was very precious. He knew that it was prepared with great effort. It turned out that there was also a piece of colored letterhead with a floral fragrance attached to the envelope. The preparations for this concert were really thoughtful. It even copied a copy of the program list, wrote it on the letterhead with a brush, and sent it along with the invitation. Xuan Huaifeng bent down, picked up the paper and unfolded it. His eyes swept to the last line, and his eyebrows twitched. Adjutant Zhang looked at him strangely and asked, "What's wrong?" Xuan Huaifeng covered it up and said, "No, I never imagined that there would be so many programs in a small concert." Adjutant Zhang said, "That's right. I read on that note. There are quite a few quirky programs, many of which I have never heard of. By the way, there is a bell called, I don't know what it is, don't it? What do we mean by juggling in China?" Xuan Huaifeng smiled and said, "Where is it? It's far from it. This Vatican bell is a Western musical instrument. It is really comparable to that. We can use our Chinese erhu as an analogy. A bow and a string." Adjutant Zhang said with relief, "So, it is. To be honest, although foreign devils look ugly, they make really good things." Xuan Huaifeng said, "Of course, it is very good. If it weren't for that, how can the commander think about doing business with foreign devils all day long?" Adjutant Zhang hurriedly said, "Adjutant Xuan, don't talk nonsense, you are the commander's adjutant. It's not good for others to hear these baseless things." Xuan Huaifeng also knew that he had missed the point, nodded and said, "I know." Adjutant Zhang said, "The commander has something to do with me, so I won't talk to you anymore. I will have a drink later when I have time. I'll leave it to you. In the morning tomorrow, I'll tell the driver to wait for you outside the door." He said a few words and hurried away. Xuan Huaifeng took the invitation card and went back to the room. During dinner, Xuan Huaifeng asked Adjutant Zhang to go to the concert party. Xuan Luzhao said, "What kind of fun party is it?" "It's just a group of officials, ladies and gentlemen eating, drinking, and idle people doing their own business." Xuan Huaifeng asked, "If you don't allow me to go, I won't go." Xuan Luzhao said, "You don't. You're a complete idler. So it's good for you to go." Xuan Huaifeng sighed in response, and didn't say anything else. After eating dinner, Xuan Luzhao practiced long boxing for an hour, sweating profusely. And after taking a shower, he hugged Xuan Huaifeng and sipped into bed. After finishing the work, he leaned on Xuan Huaifeng's body and gasped, and asked, "When will you ask your brother out?" Xuan Huaifeng's chest was also tight and short of breath, and he said sullenly, I called the mansion of the chief of customs today. The messenger said he was not there, so he went to the General Administration of Customs early in the morning. Xuan Luzhao snorted. Don't play tricks with this lord. If you call in the morning, can't you call in the evening? This lord is not so perfunctory, you are just a jerk, and you deserve to be beaten. Xuan Huaifeng sipped his tears from the pain and begged for mercy. It's really not perfunctory, I also called at night, and the servant said that he didn't come back. It seems that he went to Fengshan Mountain with his boss. If you don't believe it, you can call and ask, the phone is outside, you dial it. If I lie, you will cut my tongue. Xuan Luzhao let go, took the quilt cover to help him wipe his face, and smiled. Look at your bear-like appearance, twisting it twice makes you cry like a little girl. Well, I didn't really treat you like that. Xuan Huaifeng took the opportunity to turn his head to the side because he was coaxing him. Xuan Luzhao persuaded him a few words. Seeing his grievance and refusal to speak, he became annoyed after a while. He lowered his face and said coldly, Xuan Huaifeng, don't put on the air. You don't want to talk straight with this lord, now. You can just pack up and get out of the way. Could it be that without you, I can't get your brother? I don't believe it when I show it. Seeing him angry, Xuan Huaifeng didn't dare to be brave anymore, wiped his tears, and said with a smile, where am I putting on airs? You're making people hurt. So you have to let me rest for a while. Xuan Luzhao said, you've had enough rest now, come and give me a blowjob. Be careful, if you bite a little skin, I'll beat you to death. Xuan Huaifeng said, I've always been careful. Then he got under the quilt and got up, carefully. Repeatedly, happy for most of the night. When he woke up the next day, the bedside was empty. And Xuan Luzhao was no longer there. Xuan Huaifeng also endured the back pain and got up, washed and changed clothes, picked up the invitation card, and took the car to the concert. Bai Xuelan didn't sleep all night, looking at the sky outside the window getting darker. His heart seemed to sink even more, so he said hello to the guards and wanted to walk up the mountain alone. He came out of the back door and walked up the grass path. The wind swept across the green leaves, and then brushed against the skin, which was very refreshing, which made people feel refreshed. Bai Xuelan seemed to have some vitality added by the good mountain wind. His feet were much stronger, and his steps were even bigger. He held his breath for a while, and there was already a layer of sweat on his head. While panting, he stopped to look east, and half a new sun was rising behind the mountains. The light cannot be described only in red and white. At first glance, it is a very brilliant golden color. Under the golden light, there is a green sea and blue waves on the mountains in the distance. Bai Xuelan saw his heart wide open, and unconsciously let go of most of the sorrows of last night. Life is too short. If you want to enjoy the magnificent beauty of this world for the rest of your life, you are afraid that you will not have enough time, so why bother yourself? It's a pity again, if you bring Huaifeng to see it, maybe it will give him some surprises. He never sleeps late, and if he wakes up and finds that I'm not there, he doesn't know if he will worry about me. If he's worried, he'll come to see me. Bai Xuelan thought so, his lips were slightly curved. He has a little bit of bad intentions, and really wants to know how much Xuan Huaifeng values himself. It is also a very happy thing to be able to show some childish willfulness to Xuan Huaifeng occasionally. What's more, the scenery on this mountain is so fresh and moving, and the wind is coming. And it is also a very good opportunity to watch it with myself. Because, although he was thinking about it, he was not allowed to go back to the villa. After admiring the sunrise for a while, my eyes hurt a little. I turned my head to look at the surrounding green trees, and suddenly saw more than 20 steps away, a few green clumps like open green velvet parasols. and countless purple and red embellishments. Among them, small red or purple gems are embedded in the parasols. Bai Xuelan walked over to take a look, and sure enough, it was a few wild mulberry trees. Strings of crystal clear mulberries are full of trees, hanging from the green leaves densely and attractively, half-ripe red with green, ripe ones turn purple. And one is so ripe that it even becomes dark purple, purple-black. The fruit juice inside is so full that it seems to be overflowing. Bai Xuelan was delighted, picked a ripe one and put it in her mouth to taste. Sweet and juicy, it was delicious, so I picked another one. If it were an ordinary person, since the tree was full of fruits, naturally only the purple and black ones were picked, which were ripe and sweet. But Bai Xuelan was not an ordinary person. He ate a black one first, then a green one. When he bit it between his teeth, it was sour and astringent, and his tongue was a little bitter and numb. He ate this green one, and he didn't take it as a warning. When he was interested, he simply followed the order: blue, red, red, purple, purple, dark purple, black. Tasted them one by one. Suddenly I thought to myself, it turns out that the green trees of human feelings are probably like this. There is a process from sour to sweet, from astringent to fragrant. Without this sour and unbearable initial stage, where would the final sweet and sweet fruit be brewed? If there is only sweetness and no sourness, it is not true. Bai Xuelan snorted and laughed loudly, startling the nearby birds pecking at the treetops to fly high. While laughing, he rolled up his sleeves, not too dirty. He grabbed the hem of his shirt with one hand and held it by the side, using it as a temporary cloth pocket. With the other hand, he went back and forth on the tree and picked a lot of mulberries. Although I also wanted Xuan Huaifeng to often go from sour to sweet, Bai Xuelan wanted Xuan Huaifeng not to eat sour. The green ones only picked a small bunch or two for the occasion, and the rest were cooked to dark purple hair-black pick. After getting a large handful of fruit, he took the trophy and strode down the mountain along the path. When he came halfway down the road, a figure suddenly appeared behind the tree in front of him, and he was about to face him. Bai Xuelan's heart was suddenly overjoyed, and he focused his eyes on the man. His face suddenly sank, and a layer of disappointment covered him. Adjutant Sun also saw him come down from above. He wiped his sweat and rushed over. He smiled and said, "You are so energetic. You climbed the mountain early in the morning, and asked us to find it." Bai Xuelan asked, "Why are you here? Where's the Adjutant Xuan? Haven't gotten up yet?" Adjutant Sun said, "Adjutant Xuan got up early. When I arrived at the villa, he was in a hurry to go to the mountain to find you, the chief. But I took over the task of looking for you automatically mission." Then he talked about what Xuan Huaifeng had to prepare for today's concert. When Bai Xuelan heard this, he had been looking forward to it, but he didn't know that it was just today, and he felt some activity in his heart, and his face was better than before. He smiled and said, "The weather must be excellent today. It is very suitable for fun. Let's go and have fun together." Adjutant Sun suggested with a smile, "Chief, I think you have to go and wash up too." Bai Xuelan looked down at himself, but it wasn't good. There was a pile of bits and pieces of fruit in the hem pocket of the shirt. When picking it, there was always carelessness. The skin was torn, and the juice flowed out, dyeing the white shirt with spots, purple and red. Bai Xuelan laughed and said, "I saw it on the mountain. It looks very beautiful, the color is good, and the taste is better. I couldn't help picking some. After washing it, I took the dishes and put them up for Huaifeng. They looked good and delicious." Adjutant Sun clicked his tongue twice and said, "Adjutant Xuan is really lucky, and he is also really good. He is also conscientious in helping the chief. Bai Xuelan said, "Of course, it's good to be conscientious, but it's just a momentary anger. Come on, his temper is also scary. Now I have to let him go." Adjutant Sun said, "That's of course." Bai Xuelan snorted deliberately and asked back, "Why is it natural?" Adjutant Sun said, "The word tolerance is meant to be used from superiors to inferiors. For example, elders to inferiors, or superiors to subordinates, or, caregivers and care recipients. You are the superior. The adjutant Xuan is the subordinate, and of course only you are the superior. Be lenient with him and take care of him." Bai Xuelan couldn't help laughing. "I understand. You are an adjutant like him, and you are all on the same front against me. First, put a big hat on me with this kind of tolerance." Talking and laughing with Adjutant Sun went down the mountain together. Back at the villa, Bai Xuelan handed over the mulberries in his arms to the guards, and asked the guards to put a large glass bowl for decoration in the living room. Put them in the car and take them back to the mansion area. Go to the guest room upstairs, take a shower, and come out refreshed. Adjutant Sun was waiting in the living room. When he saw him coming down the stairs, he stood up and asked, "The car is ready. Are you going directly to the hall?" Bai Xuelan thought about Xuan Huaifeng's serious personality. Naturally, he will dress well and neatly to show respect for the audience. At that time, I don't know how to be handsome. For this reason, I can't dress too casually. Otherwise it will look unsuitable when I stand together. He looked at the new watch on his wrist and said, "Even though it's just a concert party, everyone in the government has to go. So I'd better go back and change into a serious dress. It's a pity that there are only a few ordinary sets of casual clothes in this villa. I knew it earlier. You should also put some clothes for serious occasions, and avoid this trip." Adjutant Sun smiled and said, "Who would have thought of such a temporary thing? The villa in Fengshan Mountain is prepared for play, so only light clothes are prepared." After thinking about it, he said, "Are you afraid that you will be late to change your clothes and miss the performance of Adjutant Xuan? No need to worry about this. I have already told Mrs. Liao, who is the chief planner, that the programs of our General Administration of Customs must be the performance won't start until the chief arrives. Besides, she also said that the current Vatican bell is a new thing, and there are not many people in the government, so this should be the finale." Bai Xuelan was relieved, and got into the car and sat down with Adjutant Sun for the first time. Together they returned to the White Mansion in the city. When he went to the mansion to ask, it turned out that Xuan Huaifeng had already left. He was worried that he was late for the performance, which would make the General Administration of Customs look unsightly. So, he had changed his clothes. He hurried to the auditorium with the room of fan jingling. Bai Xuelan called the servant who was reporting to him aside and asked, before Adjutant Xuan left, "Did you leave any words with you?" The servant said, "He left in a hurry and didn't say anything." "Didn't he say anything?" The servant still shook his head. "No." He glanced at Bai Xuelan's brooding face, and asked in a low voice, "Chief, is there something important for Adjutant Xuan that he forgot to do?" Bai Xuelan said, "No, go ahead." Angrily. This hateful person didn't even say a word, not even a sentence. "If the chief comes back, call him." When he went out, he was locked out of the door all night. And he climbed the mountain angrily and didn't return, and he didn't see him a little worried. So heartless. It's just that at this time, a person's suffering is nothing but asking for trouble. For this reason, it would be too expensive not to watch Xuan Huaifeng's rare performance of the Vatican bells. Bai Xuelan had to ask again, what clothes did Adjutant Xuan wear when he went out? He wore a brand new white foreign devil's suit with a neckcloth hanging on it. He looked very refreshed. Bai Xuelan was amused by him, and scolded with a smile, "I don't know. You will tell the visiting guests like this in the future. Even this lord's face has been lost by you. What foreign devil wears neckcloth? That's called a suit and tie. The servant nodded repeatedly, smiled himself, scratched his head and said, exactly, the little one thinks there should be a nice one. The word is that when you asked it just now, you couldn't remember it for a while. Bai Xuelan said, that's right. The Vatican bell is a Western musical instrument. And it should be well suited to wearing Western clothes. He went to the room, turned over a new suit and put it on himself, tie his tie well, and put on a pair of shiny leather shoes. And led Adjutant Sun to the government hall where the concert was held.